Lila Harper had never believed in ghosts. She believed in rent hikes, in late-night shifts at the diner, in the way her mother's voice cracked when she said, "I'm fine," over the phone. So when the realtor handed her the keys to 47 Maple Lane for half the market rate, she didn't ask why the paint peeled in perfect circles or why the basement door was bolted from the inside. She just signed. The first night, she unpacked 3 boxes and fell asleep on the couch. At 3:12 a.m., the wall behind her head exhaled, a slow, wet push of air that smelled like damp earth and pennies. She sat up, heart punching her ribs, and pressed her ear to the plaster. Nothing. Just the refrigerator's hum and the neighbor's dog barking at shadows. By morning, she'd convinced herself it was the pipes. Old houses settle. She drank coffee black, taped a smile over her unease, and went to work. The second night, the breathing returned. This time, it carried a voice. Not words, just a shape of sound, like someone trying to speak through a mouthful of water. Lila grabbed her phone, flashlight on, and followed the noise to the upstairs hallway. The wallpaper, a faded floral pattern, rippled as if something behind it was turning over in bed. She touched the wall, cold, then warm, then cold again. She called her brother, Marcus, who lived 3 towns over and fixed cars for a living. "You're tired," he said. "Old houses are weird. Want me to come by tomorrow?" She said yes, but when tomorrow came, Marcus texted, "Transmission blew. Rain check." The third night, the voice shaped itself into her name. Lila. Not loud, intimate, like a lover's whisper against her ear, except no one was there. She slept with the lights on, a kitchen knife under her pillow, and woke to find the blade on the floor, tip bent like it had been used to pry something open. She started leaving earlier for work, staying later. The diner's fluorescent lights felt safer than the house's yellowed bulbs. But the house waited. On the 7th night, she came home to find every mirror in the place turned to the wall. Not fallen, turned. The screws in the frames were still warm. That's when she called the priest. Father Daniel arrived in a rust-flaked Buick, collar askew, smelling of incense and menthols. He walked the house with a flashlight and a Polaroid camera, snapping pictures of nothing. In the upstairs hallway, he stopped. "This wall," he said, tapping the floral paper. "It's newer than the rest. See the seam?" Lila saw. A hairline crack ran vertically, hidden beneath the pattern. "Someone bricked something up," he muttered, "and they didn't want it found." They pried the drywall with a crowbar from Lila's trunk. The plaster gave way in chunks, revealing not brick, but wood. Rough pine planks, nailed tight, smelling of sap and something sweeter. Rotting meat left in the sun. Behind the wood was a door. Not a full door, just a child-sized hatch, painted the same sickly yellow as the hallway trim. A rusted latch held it shut. Father Daniel crossed himself. "We shouldn't." Lila's hand was already on the latch. "I need to know." The hatch opened with a sound like a throat clearing. A gust of air rushed out, thick and humid, carrying the stench of a butcher's drain. The space beyond was a crawl space no wider than a coffin, lined with the same pine. At the far end, something glistened. A shoe, small patent leather, one buckle missing. Beside it, a scrap of blue fabric caught on a nail. A child's dress. Lila's stomach lurched. She backed out, slamming the hatch. Father Daniel was already dialing his phone, muttering about police, about blessings, about sins. But when Lila looked again, the hatch was gone. The wall was smooth. The floral paper pristine. No seam, no scent. Just the faint outline of her crowbar's dents, already fading like bruises. That night, she didn't sleep. She sat on the porch steps, smoking Marcus's emergency cigarettes, watching the house watch her back. The windows reflected nothing. At 2:47 a.m., her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You left the door open." She hadn't. The next morning, the realtor called. "Change of plans," she chirped. "Owner wants the house back. You've got 48 hours. Lila laughed until she cried. "Tell the owner to come get it himself." She started digging, not with tools, with questions. The county clerk's office had records of 47 Maple Lane going back to 1892. The original owner, Dr. Elias Whitmore, a surgeon who'd lost his license after a botched amputation. His wife, Clara, vanished in 1904. Their daughter, Beatrice, age 7, taken by fever the same year. No death certificate, no grave. Lila found a photograph in the library's microfiche. Dr. Whitmore in a high-collared coat, eyes like bullet holes. Beside him, Clara, smiling too wide, and Beatrice clutching a rag doll, staring straight at the camera, as if she'd seen the future and didn't like it. That afternoon, Marcus finally showed. He took one look at Lila, unwashed hair, eyes ringed purple, and dragged her to the diner. Over burnt coffee, she told him everything. He listened, then said, "We're opening that wall again, together." They returned at dusk, with sledgehammers and headlamps. The floral wallpaper peeled back like skin. The pine planks were there, but different. The nails were gone. The wood was warped, swollen, as if it had absorbed years of moisture in hours. Marcus swung. The first blow sank deep, like hitting flesh. A sound came from inside, not a scream, but a sigh, relieved. The planks splintered. Behind them was not a crawl space, but a room. A child's bedroom, perfectly preserved. A narrow bed with a patchwork quilt. A rocking horse, one eye missing. A dollhouse on a table, doors ajar. And on the floor, a circle of salt, broken in the middle. In the center of the circle lay the shoe, and the dress, and something else. A cassette tape, the kind Lila hadn't seen since childhood, labeled in shaky marker. B, 1904. Marcus's hands shook as he picked it up. "We need a player." Lila's throat was sand. "I have one, in the attic." The attic was a furnace of dust and heat. The player sat on a crate, tangled in Christmas lights. They plugged it in. The tape whirred, hissed, then a girl's voice, thin and clear. "Daddy says the walls are hungry. He says if I'm good, they'll eat someone else, but I'm tired of being good." Static, then singing. A lullaby Lila's mother used to hum, off-key. "Hush now, baby, don't you cry." Ended with a click. Marcus rewound it, played it again. On the third listen, the girl's voice changed. Deeper, older. "You're not my daddy." The player sparked, smoke curled. The lights in the house died. In the dark, Marcus whispered, "Lila, your hand." She looked down. Her fingers were ice. Not cold, frozen. Frost crept up her wrist, crystallizing her skin. She couldn't feel her arm. They ran. Down the stairs, through the hall, out the front door. The porch light flickered on as they crossed the threshold, as if the house was waving goodbye. Marcus's truck wouldn't start. The battery was drained, cables chewed through like by teeth. They walked to the main road, flagged a ride with a passing semi. The driver, a woman with a cross tattooed on her neck, took one look at Lila's arm and crossed herself. "Frostbite in July," she muttered. You been somewhere you shouldn't? At the hospital, the doctors were baffled. No explanation for the necrosis climbing Leela's veins like ivy. They amputated below the elbow at dawn. Marcus held her other hand, crying silently. When she woke, he was gone. His phone went to voicemail. The hospital had no record of him checking in. She discharged herself against medical advice, stole a cab to 47 Maple Lane. The house was dark, but the front door stood open. Inside, the air was warm, welcoming. The floral wallpaper was gone, replaced by bare plaster, painted the soft blue of a child's room. The hatch was there, wide open, a ribbon of yellow light spilling out. Lila stepped inside. The crawl space had become a hallway, stretching farther than the foundation allowed. The walls were lined with doors, each with a brass knob and a nameplate. Clara, Elias, Beatrice, and one more, freshly carved, Lila. She opened her door. Inside was her childhood bedroom, the one she'd lost when her parents divorced. The bunk bed with the glow-in-the-dark stars, the poster of a boy band she'd kissed in magazines. Her mother's voice drifted from the closet. I'm fine, honey. Go to sleep. Leela backed out. The hallway had changed. The other doors were gone. Only hers remained, and behind her, the hatch slammed shut. The ribbon of light winked out. She was alone. Or not. A hand slipped into hers. Small, warm, a child's. You left the door open, Beatrice whispered. Now you have to stay. Leela looked down. The girl was translucent, edges flickering like bad film. Her dress was blue, one buckle missing. Her eyes were Leela's eyes, 30 years younger. I'm not your daddy, Leela said. Beatrice smiled. You will be. The walls pulsed. The floor softened, became earth. Roots curled around Leela's ankles, gentle but firm. She felt her memories draining, her mother's laugh, the taste of diner coffee, Marcus's stupid jokes. They poured into the wood, feeding it. The house grew taller, wider, hungrier. Lila backed out. The hallway had changed. The other doors were gone. Only hers remained, and behind her, the hatch slammed shut. The ribbon of light winked out. She was alone, or not. A hand slipped into hers. Small, warm, a child's. You left the door open, Beatrice whispered. Now you have to stay. Lila looked down. The girl was translucent, edges flickering like bad film. Her dress was blue, one buckle missing. Her eyes were Lila's eyes, 30 years younger. I'm not your daddy, Lila said. Beatrice smiled. You will be. The walls pulsed. The floor softened, became earth. Roots curled around Lila's ankles, gentle but firm. She felt her memories draining. Her mother's laugh, the taste of diner coffee, Marcus's stupid jokes. They poured into the wood, feeding it. The house grew taller, wider, hungrier. She fought, screamed, clawed at the roots until her remaining hand bled. But the house was patient. It had waited a century for someone who wouldn't leave. On the last day, the realtor arrived with a new tenant, a young couple expecting their first child. The house looked perfect. Fresh paint, new floors, the basement door unbolted and welcoming. The realtor smiled too wide. Previous owner left in a hurry, she said. Such a steal. The couple moved in. That night, the walls exhaled. At 3:12 a.m., the wife woke to a child's voice singing a lullaby through the vents. She smiled in her sleep, dreaming of the daughter she hadn't yet born. In the walls, Leela listened. She was the whisper now, the breath, the hunger. And when the new baby cried, she would be there, not to harm, to replace. The house didn't creak. It breathed, and it was never empty again.